Okay. The highlighted one with the yellow.
Oh, okay. That's very festive. All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to get started here. This is the City of Atlanta City Utilities Committee. This is our regularly scheduled meeting. It's March 15th. And look what the cat's dragged in. It's nice to be back here in chambers and literally in the public's eye after 2 long years in exile. So I'm going to call the meeting to order. And are we doing electronic roll calls?
No, sir. You can introduce the members that are present.
All right. We have, I'm going to start over here. We have Mr. Lewis. We have Ms. Boone. I'm Howard Shook. I'm chair of the committee. We have Mr. Wan. And we have Mr. Winston. So we do have a quorum. Other members may join us as their schedules permit. So let's get going. I will call for the adoption of the agenda. There are no proposed changes. Is there a second? Mr. Wan seconds my motion. Let's open that vote to adopt the agenda.
The vote is open.
Lewis, yes.
All right, the ayes have it. I'll now make a motion to approve the minutes of the prior meeting. Second by Juan. Let's open the vote.
Vote is open. Councilmember Lewis?
Yes.
Vote is closed. 5 yeas, 0 nays. The minutes have been approved.
Okay, that takes us to public comment. It was brought to our attention the other day that apparently an earlier version of the various committee agendas omitted the reference to the 3-minute public comment at the beginning of the meeting. So we've all made sure that that's on there now, and so we will commence with that. And Adrian Coleman Tyler, you're up.
Good morning, Chairman Shook, and to the committee. It's great to be back in chambers this morning. I'm here today to speak to Atlanta's public access television. I am eager to hear from the administration in terms of their plans for revitalizing public access in the city of Atlanta. As I hope most of you know, Atlanta was an early adopter of cable access TV in the 1980s. City of Atlanta put out a procurement for a cable operator, and as part of that, they required that the cable operator provide for a public access channel. And as Congressman John Lewis said, that it was part of a public trust. It was for everybody's use. It was stood up as a free speech model where everybody could use that channel, and that it was both a technology center where we could teach everyday citizens how to create television productions. But we're 40 years later, and it's time for revitalization. The technology has changed. The communities of Atlanta have changed, but the need is still there. When you look around the country, when you look at Philly, when you look at Portland, all the way down to small cities such as Lafayette, Louisiana. They have robust public access channels that are teaching people digital technology. A revitalization of the center aligns with all the mayor's initiatives and council's initiatives, neighborhood empowerment, workforce development, youth development. All of that is possible, and this resource needs, I hope that you will prioritize this in 2022, and I'm eager today to hear Mayor Dickens and the administration's plans for revitalization. Thank you so very much.
Yeah, thank you. Ms. Radcliffe, you're up, followed by Ms. Dufresne.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and council members. It's very nice to see you again. I'm here as Live, Thrive Atlantis Charm facility. I would like to invite all of you to come back to Charm, those of you that haven't been. It's your Center for Hard to Recycle Materials. We're partners with the City of Atlanta. This will be our 7th year.
Wow.
Yeah, do you believe that, Mr. Shook? It's been 7 years since we've been around, and we'd love for you to come and see the facility. We opened in 2015 and had 5,000 visitors. In 2021, we had 62,000 visitors. So we'd love for you to come down and see the facility. Just let me know when it's convenient with you as a group or individually. We'd love for you to come down. Any questions, please feel free to email me, but I'd love to give you further information on what we do and how we can partner further. Thank you.
Yeah, that's very impressive. Thank you for all the work you've done. What you might want to do is send kind of a one-pager so that you can refresh some of us that need refreshing, and then, you know, that'll also help out the new members so that they can kind of use that as a basis to, you know, get in touch with their constituents about it.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Swan.
Ms. Radcliffe, before you go, so are you still, is Charm still kind of partnering with individual council members to do, you know, days or whatever at the location?
Absolutely. Earth Month is coming up, and we usually partner with quite a few of you, whether it be on tire cleanups that you're doing in your individual districts to bring the materials down that are recyclable in your district. But if there's something you would like to partner on, another idea, school systems, any of your schools in your districts, we'd love to partner with anything that we can help with when it goes to environment recycling.
I mean, obviously, I know the answer to the question, but it is still free for Atlanta residents and businesses, correct?
Absolutely. There are certain items that we do charge fees. The hazardous materials, the paint, the chemicals, they receive 25 pounds for free, and then the next 100 pounds are 25 cents each. Tires, $2 each. TVs, $20. Everything else is free.
And you're still encouraging users to register or sign up for an appointment before?
We still are by appointment, yes, so that we can provide you the information. We send you every quarter a map. It goes to the Department of Public Works. It's a map of zip code participation and as far as the weight each quarter. So it provides a great deal of information. It helps us.
Yeah, I will add to Chairman's comments. I mean, I think none of us imagine the usage that you're experiencing now when we started this 7 years ago. And the tonnage that you collect and divert from the landfills, put to reuse, is just absolutely amazing. So thank you for the partnership.
Thank you.
Sorry. So good to see you.
Nice to see you.
As you know, I'm a big fan of Charm, and it's in District 1, so proud to host it in my district. One thing I know, I've seen you regularly there as I make it to Charm, but we've talked a lot about your resources or lack thereof. I know you rely heavily on volunteers, and right now volunteers are hard to come by in terms of being able to use, but you also rely on staff that seems to be limited right now. What resources do you feel like we could use to help you, be able to staff more? Because I know that your days are limited because of that.
If you work with any groups that have work programs, I would be glad to talk to you about that or connect me with the groups that you're working with so that we could possibly pull from that resource to have staffing.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Dufresne.
Good morning, council members and Mr. Chair. My name is Emma Dufresne, and I am the project manager for a multifamily recycling initiative in the city of Atlanta called the Do You Recycle Challenge. This program was launched by the Recycling Partnership alongside Live Thrive, nonprofit that runs Charm. This year-long initiative that began last summer provides City of Atlanta multifamily communities the tools and guidance needed to deliver and track recycling access and education to all residents. So property onboarding is made possible through our partnerships with Atlanta Housing and Livable Buckhead. So now I'm going to run through some of the main benefits of being involved in this program. So though the program isn't an enforcement mechanism of the multifamily recycling ordinance currently in place, it is an opportunity for multifamily communities to comply with this. Next, we provide personalized campaigns for participating properties that include access to free signage, educational materials, so that's info cards, tote bags to collect recyclables, door hangers, and digital marketing assets. We also provide access to a waste management app to help track recycling quantity and contamination. We also provide an opportunity for properties to receive additional funding to help with overall recycling infrastructure improvements. So we really are working toward long-term improvement of multifamily recycling at all properties we work with. And then next, there's the opportunity for public recognition for involved multifamily properties. So far, we've onboarded 17 properties that represent over 2,800 multifamily recycling or residential units across the city. We're working to see these numbers jump significantly in our final months of the program. So if this is something you're interested in introducing to your constituents, my team and I would be happy to meet with you to discuss additional details, answer any questions, accompany you at MPU meetings to sell the program, and then provide any other support needed to implement this program in your communities. I have a one-pager as well, so I can hand it out to you if any questions.
Oh, you have hard copies right here?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Yeah, Ms. Wan.
So I just want to confirm, this is free, it's a free service to multifamily buildings, and then you're basically just going in and advising them on how they can institute a kind of a recycling program, facility, or not facility, but asset within their property,
That's right.
correct? Okay.
Yes, that's right. We go in and we're basically recycling consultants. So we come in and we set up an 8-week education campaign based on how the recycling is currently running at the property, because each property is very different. So it's very personalized. We personalize all the educational materials to make sure that it works for each community that we work with.
Okay. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for this. This is very helpful. Okay, that exhausts our list of those who have signed up to speak, which takes us to Ms. Harris, who will tell us about the administration's thinking relative to the future of the People TV and the contract and et cetera.
Good morning, council members and council member Shook. I am Lenise Harris, the station director for Channel 26, and I wanted to talk a little bit about moving public access forward in Atlanta. Public access television was created in the United States between 1969 and 71 by the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC. The channels are public, educational, and government PEG access channels. Channel 24, People TV, is the public access entity of PEG, whereas Channel 26 is the government entity of PEG, and APS TV is the educational. According to the SPS 1200233 People TV Cable Channel Operator Agreement, it expired on March 9th, 2022. The city provided an annual allotment of $180,000 annually coming out of the general fund. It's important to note that their rent was nearly close to $8,000, and that didn't include utilities. So only accepting an allotment from the city of Atlanta is not enough to allow public access to thrive, and it was on them to also do grant writing and collaborate with neighborhood partners to get more engaging funding to help them thrive. The Mayor's Office of Communications and Channel 26 have significant concerns regarding content distribution, the lack of technical and program improvements, and fiscal transparency. After robust conversations and briefings, it was determined the best way to move public access in Atlanta forward, the city will begin transitioning People TV from its current structure to a premier multimedia community media center. CMCs, as we refer to the community centers, can offer multiple platforms, integrating television, radio, podcasting. You can even grow to coding and gaming. But you have to have the vision and you have to have the leadership to get it there. These services would help community organizations, seniors, youth, and others to navigate in this 21st century. The goal is to undertake a process that will revitalize and re-envision public access to better meet the needs of the Atlanta community organizations, neighborhoods, and residents. The objective, the Mayor's Office of Communications and Channel 26, ATL 26, will facilitate the process of creating a multimedia community media center approach for public access Channel 24. The process to re-envision and reinvent public access to a modern media center includes 6 phases. We are currently at the phase where we are doing a technical switchover of People TV's Comcast signal and content programming temporarily managed by the Mayor's Office of Communications and Channel 26. Currently, we collaborated and received content from nonprofit organizations, colleges, and universities to air community-driven content to become stakeholders in the future of the public access where we want to go with the community media center. The city will solicit partnerships to help secure additional funding and in-kind resources such as technology, computers, cameras, whatever technically we need. We're trying to see if we can get in-kind donations to help, because People TV lacks seriously with the updated equipment. We would also like to identify an entity to manage the community media center through an RFP process. The other cities around the United States have done an RFP process through a nonprofit organization, and they found that a lot more successful than just a sole operator of public access. With input from the city, the future designated CMC public access management entity should identify and engage key partners from the public and private sectors and nonprofit organizations. A multi-year agreement will be needed to successfully build and achieve long-term sustainability for a public access community media center. The best case scenario is 5 years. The city and the future designated entity should locate a CMC facility space. The Mayor's Office of Communications and Channel 26 will operate public access, the programming, on an interim basis. What is most important for everyone to understand about what we would like to do with this switchover is that we are not denying access to the public. Instead, the plan as we grow to a community media center is to increase access, improve quality, and expand education and training. So, before I go into the stakeholder outreach, Toya, can you move the presentation up to stakeholder outreach? So before I get into this portion of the presentation, it was July 2020 when the city reached out for or retained the services of a consultant, the Buskey Group. The Buskey Group is nationally recognized in the community media world. And despite constraints imposed by COVID, the re-envisioning process moved forward, and part of that process included us designing a leadership team, a public access leadership team. And that team, the initial group, were community members and nonprofit leadership representatives from Hands on Atlanta, Meals on Wheels, Disability Link. We even had a representation from the public access producers from the current and past, so we had representation from that community. And with that leadership, we were able to we were able to teach them about public access and introduce them to the robust community centers that are going on around the United States. We had speakers from PhillyCam. They are run by a nonprofit organization. And then Anthony Riddle is Senior Vice President of Community Media in Brooklyn. That nonprofit organization is called BRIC, and it's important to note that Tony Riddle was very instrumental with Atlanta City Public Access. And as things dwindled, he moved, and BRIC is really a robust community media center along with cultural arts. So, as I get to this, to tell you about the stakeholder community meetings along with cultural arts, we did an outreach from the public leadership team. We worked with them for a couple of weeks, probably 4 to 5 weeks, and just so they could learn different things about public access, to have see those presentations. Then they were able to contribute from their network and people who can be a part of the stakeholder meetings to also learn about what the city would like to do in terms of revitalizing. Channel 26 did an outreach, and we held stakeholder meetings in May of 2021. Not only did we do a robust social media marketing about the Zoom meetings, but we also reached out to the MPUs, and again, we had our leadership team work with their network. Hey, come to this meeting, learn about what Atlanta wants to do with a community hub for content creators. This could also benefit your nonprofit organization. There were 120 participants that registered for the sessions. There were 50 different attendees who identified themselves at the stakeholder meetings. Many people did not provide their names or contact information. Participants were invited to provide additional input in writing to the consultant, and all the feedback was documented. And this is just a slide to show you one of the graphics that were sent out to let the community know. It was put out Facebook, Twitter, letters to the overall MPUs. I'd like to go over a summary of input gathered from the stakeholder meetings and the leadership team meetings. Several common themes emerged from the input provided by the participants, and I won't bore you to death with all of these. I will give you quick key points, but what is that? Public access in Atlanta isn't working now, and one of the comments was public access in Atlanta needs to expand to other mediums. It needs to serve many, not just a few like it does. From the sessions, they determined public access partnerships are important. They were interested in seeing internships between a community media center and the schools. And the way that People TV is currently set up, if you have a teenager or a college student or just anyone that is engaged digitally into technology, they wouldn't be engaged with People TV because the equipment's just not there and it's not updated. I mean, if you can edit on your phone, why would you go to that center where things are not working properly? They only actually have one edit bay, so you can't really do great educational outreach and training there. And that was another thing that they wanted to make sure that the new community center was up to date with equipment. Equipment and operations are outdated at People TV. Variety of digital content is encouraged. Need to have equipment that will engage people to get involved. So, the obstacles that the city has encountered with People TV. The obstacles involving People TV include poor quality of overall services, lack of access to the general public, no outreach to newly interested individuals or nonprofits. Actually, I do recall on the session, on one or two sessions, that people didn't even know People TV was there, that they didn't know that their services were to help provide for nonprofits. The operation of People TV cannot thrive from the city's $180,000 allotment alone, which is why it is very important that we find key collaborators to engage as partners. And now I'd like to introduce my engineer, ATL 26 engineer, Dennis Mills, who can talk more about the technical infrastructure of People TV and talk about the switchover that is currently happening.
Good morning, council members and Chairman Shook. My name is Dennis Mills, and I am the broadcast engineer for the City of Atlanta Office of Television and Technology. My recent review of People TV presented many challenges in terms of technology.
Hold on, Dennis. Can you go past the People TV video, the image there? Go past it, and keep it there while he talks about technology.
Okay. Besides the outdated equipment, the methods being used are no longer applicable for today's technology. We are currently in a transitional phase with Comcast Cable to ensure that the channel does not go dark. We will and are currently working on a solution to provide play out of content from an alternative location other than the 14th Street site. That rollout of a new signal should be completed by the end of this week.
Toya, if you could go up a little bit where it says take a peek into a few community media centers. So I will provide a link to everyone with with the City Utilities Committee, because this is a more updated report, Councilmember Shook, and I highlight community media centers that have a variety of multi platforms in terms of the arts, digital, working with computers, and just storytelling and journalism. Those three community media centers were Brick out of Brooklyn, New York, which I've talked about earlier. Philly Cam virtual tour is here for you to take a look at. They're out of Philadelphia. And Rockwood, and let me say, Philly Cam and Brick, they are run by a nonprofit entity, whereas Rockwood, which is out of Oregon, is managed and run out of their library. So they provide a lot of workshops for digital literacy for their community. I'd like to close and say, as Mayor Dickens' administration is working hard to move Atlanta forward, the time is now for the Hollywood of the South to have a public access medium that builds with the community, is equitable, and a vibrant community media hub for content creators for all ages. Any questions?
I'm sure there are. I'll start with a comment, which is I'm glad to see this administration, straight away making efforts to solve the myriad of long-standing problems that have affected and discouraged all the stakeholders, council, administration, y'all, People TV. It's been, for as long as I've been here, some of these problems have just, not been solved. So I'm glad to see this administration, making this a priority. So could you, if you haven't already done so, could you please send all members of council an electronic copy of your presentation? Some of it was a little hard to read.
Okay.
And I know we'd like to sit down and study it.
Okay. And I can also attach the report from the Buskey Group. It's 12 pages, and it really goes in depth to the initiatives and how.
That'd be great. What phase are you?
First phase, we are dealing with the switchover. So People TV, the agreement ended March 9th. And on, what was March 9th? I think it was last Wednesday at 4 o'clock, Comcast switched from the People TV signal. It is currently on a slate which states that the city of Atlanta is in the process of reimagining public access to increase engagement from the community. And today, no later than Friday this week, we will loop programming, community-driven content that we have initiated from nonprofit organizations. That's the first phase. I am not being dismissive of the public access current and past producers. I will have meetings with them so they can also upload content from their end, and we're also exploring places where they can possibly do some filming and shooting if they can't do it from their phone and on their iPads. But if you're a storyteller, you already know how to enterprise stories.
Is the contract's going to have to be modified or restructured significantly?
Significantly. Because in my presentation, I discussed how the robust cities that North Carolina, as Adrienne stated, I mean, she made some very good points earlier. That was part of my presentation. And BRIC, all of those, they are through an RFP, through a non-profit process, and it's mission matched with whatever that nonprofit is and what they want to put out for content on the channel.
Okay, and my last question before I turn it over. Is there any particular model that you've looked at that you're particularly enamored of, or do you reckon this is going to end up being a sort of a pick and choose hybrid?
Well, I mean, we have to pick what is unique to Atlanta.
Right.
You know, what works for BRIC may not work for Atlanta, which is Brooklyn. I'm sorry when I keep saying BRIC. But what works for other community centers may not work for Atlanta. So we really have to dig in with the community and decide which way the community media center will go. But what I will say, it will provide jobs. It will help keep the youth off the street for any seasoned seniors who want to still be updated on how to work apps, how to do anything software-wise. You know, it's a place to do that. And I think it aligns with the mayor's initiatives for, you know, including everybody, drawing circles for everybody.
All right. Ms. Boone, you're recognized.
Thank you, Ms. Harris, for this presentation. Ms. Harris, at what point did you all decide to make these changes over the past 6 months, or at what point did you decide?
Well, the data came back from the Buskey Group in late August, September of 2021. So we didn't decide that, but that's when the data came, and then there were a lot of conversations and things of that sort. And since the contract was expiring, this was the perfect opportunity to step in so the channel would not go dark, to keep the channel viable, to go ahead and put in programming that honestly is a lot better than what is currently running, what was running on Channel 24 with People TV.
So, Ms. Harris, you know that People TV has a lot of history.
Correct.
And it really, really would have been respectful, and it would have been helpful if you all had met with this entire body before these decisions were made. I just implore you all in the future to respect members of this entire body. We were bombarded with calls from Southwest, Southeast, Northeast, Northwest. We had not received anything in writing, nor had we received this presentation.
Well, I did update this presentation from what was sent out from our communications director. So just to lay out more of how there was an outreach for the community.
In August when you
Well, that's when
received
the
it.
data came back, and then we had to go through it. And then, not to be disrespectful, it was not intentional, but time was moving. And
Ms. Harris, the decisions have already been made.
yes,
The decisions have already been made.
okay,
I implore you, because we have folks that elected us, and they've been calling regarding this.
I
In the
understand.
future, please respect this entire body.
Yes,
Please, because we have to answer to the residents that elected us.
okay,
People TV has a lot of rich history.
and we
The
want to
late
continue
Hosea
that.
Williams, my father, the late Reverend Joseph E. Boone. In some ways, this was the only way they could get a message out to their constituents. So please, respect the Atlanta City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Harris, for your presentation. I want to just reiterate Councilmember Boone's statement that, this is very important for the city of Atlanta and the history of transparency and people being able to, stay abreast of what's happening with our city government, and it's very important. I do want to ask the question, just a few blocks north of here, Georgia State University just opened up a state-of-the-art creative media institute. Was there any consultation with Georgia State University in terms of being able to help, with people with the television?
So in the past, the city of Atlanta, which predates me, had reached out to Georgia State, and they were not willing to come on board. And we also knew that they were creating this content hub. So just due to the past reach out, we were unsuccessful, and we want to try and explore some other avenues with other universities and nonprofits.
Was that reach out prior to the new president coming on board?
Yes, it was prior to me even being in this position. And even when I got into the position and we were talking to certain key stakeholders with Georgia State, and they just were not, because I guess they already knew what they wanted to do. Okay. So it was not a successful reach out.
All right. Well, just seeing that, there's a new regime here in the city of Atlanta, and there's also new leadership at Georgia State University. Seems like, that would be something that probably would be good to look into again. So, but thank you again for your presentation.
All right. Thank you.
Mr. Lewis.
Ms. Harris, I think I had a few questions too.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You be skipping me all the time.
I'm sorry. My apologies.
Similar to Councilmember Boone, my calls come from my grandmother. My grandmother lives at 400 on Boulevard, at the towers on Boulevard. And when she called me, she said, "What's going on with the TV channel I watch you on?" And I said, "I don't know." She said, "Aren't you a city council person? You're supposed to know something." And so to hear that you got the information in August, and 5 months ago.
Well, we got the data. We weren't able to go through everything until quite some time, and time just caught up with us.
I'm just thinking about that bottleneck of the time. So,
and I also want to say that I'm surprised that some of the people that did call, they were not part of the sessions, and we reached out through MPUs. I thought it was a very low turnout for the Zoom calls. We had 4 of them, and we reached out to different sections of the community.
So less than 1% of the city goes to MPU meetings. If you didn't reach out, you were able to reach out to the MPUs, but not the city council members.
Well, I did do a presentation December 2019. Again, COVID has clouded a lot of things. I did a presentation 2019, and that presentation was about the fact that we wanted to revitalize public access, and we wanted to move forward with leadership team along with these sessions. That was 2019. We all know what happened. That was December 2019. Then March of 2020, it was COVID. So the world was trying to get used to that. So my apologies again, but as I said, I did do 5 weeks to 6 weeks in terms of working with the consultant to reach out to the community And a lot of you all weren't in office at that time, but we did do that reach out.
So please, let me finish this time, please. So if you got it in August, it's 5-month time period, and if you, because you said it was a fast time period, so you couldn't get it to us, when did you start working on the plan that's already finished?
I want to say probably working with the consultant, probably about January, because we knew the agreement was coming up. And it was either we move forward to renew an option for 1 year, 2 renewed options for 1 year, or go ahead with the switch over.
What I'm saying is all of us were in office in January. So in the last 2 months, you've been working on a plan. I don't think that the plan should be final. I think that the plan, I like collaboration.
Okay.
I want to work with you on this plan.
Okay.
Particularly when we talk about reaching out to the community, because less than 1% of the city goes to MPU meetings. I talk to the people that don't go to the meetings, and they come when I call them. So I would like to be a part of the process, and I would like for you not to be giving us the final page, but I would like for you to be presenting us your suggestions so that we can work together on this. So that's my hope that we can move into, because I want to work with you.
Okay. I take all of this, and we will go back and make sure we do better as we move forward. Thank you. Any other questions?
How the gang footprint in the state is larger and broader.
I would also like to say thank you to the USC student from Southern California that came in to write a master's thesis paper on what's going on in Atlanta. Thank you.
6 gang segments, international.
So what is the next step? When is your next update to us going to be? And I'm sure you're getting the sense that we'd like to be more active partners moving forward with this. So when do you anticipate coming back before us? And you're going to need to be on the mic, I'm sorry.
When we get through the switch over, then we'll be able to really assess how we want to move forward, and then we will bring this body to collaborate and go from there with suggestions and recommendations from your end.
All right, well, during this presentation, I've been trying to get a handle on what pieces of this would require council approval. Obviously, a restructured contract would ultimately come before us for ratification. I'm also wondering if the reorg, as is sometimes the case here, going to require council legislation, and there may be other pieces of it too. And plus, we need to find out who in law will be our point person in terms of support for this topic moving forward.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, go ahead. I'll recognize you for a couple minutes. And please start with this. Please recite again what you consider to be the models, because I think we're all anxious to get online and look at those.
Okay, thank you. So, models around the country, Philly Cam. What I would say about Philly Cam is that what you have to understand is that Philly Cam's annual budget from the city is over $2 million. Now, what I want to say in terms of funding for public access, City of Atlanta receives over $5 million annually from franchise fees that cable subscribers pay over and above. So if your cable bill monthly is $100, a cable subscriber pays $105. $5 of that comes to the City of Atlanta for the franchise fee. In addition, in the 2019 Comcast franchise agreement, an additional fee was added to cable subscribers called the PEG capitalization fee that Comcast subscribers are paying 10 cents monthly that is supposed to be used to capitalize the PEG channels, and that goes down over time to 5 cents a month. Previously in legislation, City Council appropriated an amount for public access that was like up to 1% of the 5% went to the public access channel. So when we talk about that People TV had to raise funds, if you look historically, that funding came from franchise fees, which is not taxes. Everybody pays taxes, but cable provides subscribers pay the franchise fee. I also want to say, when we talk about the model, Before there was a People TV, there has always been a citizen advisory board that was stood up even when the cable operator operated the channel. So this is not about the operator. So what I was listening for today was how does the citizen involvement participation piece, and I think Atlanta's model has been duplicated around the country, that there is always, if you look at PhillyCam, what I like about PhillyCam is their board structure. It does include universities. It does include nonprofit organizations that have seats set aside. So there's lots of things to look at. Councilman Shook, we said next steps. I think that for the community, we do need, if you will, a public hearing or some kind of space to talk about this, and I would like the administration's, through legislation, there should be another advisory board or something stood up as we transition. Before I leave, I have to say, DeKalb County's model should be a model that we look at in terms of temporary. I'm not talking long term. I can produce programming that I can upload. Rush Tira, it is an investment. You can capitalize that. They have a website, but I just want to say, the government channel does operate it temporarily because the CAB promised they would build a studio. I don't want us to get locked into this temporary fix, but I would like to make sure that we stand up a way for the public to be able to again put programming on the channel, and that we have that. And I would like for council to set some time when they come back so that we keep this conversation going, but set up some way for the community to have input into this. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, one last question for the administration. So can we speak to what is the status of People TV in terms of that contract and that organization? Thank you.
I just wanted to do a slight correction, and I can't talk to all the specifics of the Comcast franchise fees because I'm not all that versed in it to give that. But I do know with the cutting of the cord, Atlanta's Comcast franchise fees is a lot different from what it was in the past. And they, back in December of 2019, when everything was approved with the city of Atlanta, they were saying that the franchise fees would every year could be different because they couldn't promise us a bottom line of how much the city would receive. And as far as People TV, the signal is cut. There is a slate up that says we are reimagining public access television. We've reached out to nonprofits. What to your point about the server, people have been uploading content, nonprofits have been uploading content to the server, and that will be on a loop for programming temporarily, and then we'll reach out to public access once we get everything solid technically from that point.
I was just saying, I appreciate, I can tell that you are really doing the work and you're being constrained. How can we help you? Like, what's the best? I hear you saying money, and I know money solves some problems where we from, and it sounds like it can solve this problem. So is this a problem that money can solve?
Money can solve it, but we need to bring a very collaborative nonprofit key holder to the table who can not only help with help with funds, but also with in-kind services, as I said, equipment, computers, things of that sort.
And just thinking about how many how the film industry is in Atlanta. Do we have any partnership with our film office?
We do have a partnership with the film office. They just did their PA program and had the graduation. That was in 2021. So this community media center would be a place for their students to not only hold classes and train, but also learn other skills.
Okay.
And to partner with a movie studio would be, phenomenal, since we are the Hollywood of the South.
Okay. All right, thank you. Is there a dollar amount that you can?
Not at this moment.
Okay.
But we can definitely work together in sessions and with the community. Because again, I want the public access community media model to build with the community. And I don't feel, in the past, historically, in the 80s and the 90s, when it was robust and thriving, I don't know how it got lost. It was building with the community. I mean, they had hubs in certain community neighborhoods producing content about the neighborhoods. Somehow that all got lost.
I just don't like to hear the department or anybody with Atlanta is asking for resources. That's our job, to provide you the resources. So thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, well, obviously, at some point, we're going to have it at least one work session to delve into this. I don't think at this point we have enough of the shared data that you've been looking at. I don't think we're familiar enough with sort of where you are. Obviously, we have the sense that we're playing catch-up here. Now, the good news is, it's not too late. Having not solved these problems for 20 years, we're certainly not going to solve them here today. So I'm sure this will be a very in-depth discussion to follow, and I'm sure we're all going to look up the various models that you've pointed out to us so that we can catch up to you a little bit better. All right? Anything else, colleagues? All right. Thank you to everyone. We're at the consent agenda.
Item number 1 is 22-0-1230, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year 2022 Series 2021 Water and Wastewater Commercial Paper Notes budget in the amount of $3,329,379.00 to transfer funds from the 2021 Water and Wastewater Commercial Paper Notes for appropriations and add funds to the Utoy Creek WRC Ultraviolet Replacement Project. Item number 2 is 22-0-1231, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the Chief Financial Officer to amend the fiscal year 2022 Series 2021 Water and Wastewater Commercial Paper Notes budget in the amount of $2 million to transfer funds from the 2021 Water and Wastewater Commercial Paper Notes for appropriations and add funds to the Watershed Vehicle and Heavy Equipment Replacement Program for other purposes.
All right, thank you. Those are first reads, thus they will come back to us next time. That takes us to our regular agenda. We have 2 items. First is 22-0-1195. It's an ordinance by City Utilities Committee authorizing the mayor or his designee to execute the Second Amendment to the agreement which is indicated here, annual contract for municipal solid waste with Republic Services of Georgia Limited Partnership and Genesis Testing Services, DBA 3G&L, a joint venture, on behalf of Public Works, to authorize the payment of a rate of $41.14 per ton for municipal solid waste disposal services retroactively effective March 1 of this year. Mr. Wiggins.
Good morning, Chairman Shook and committee members. Al Wiggins, Commissioner, Department of Public Works. As you mentioned, this is a rate adjustment for our current solid waste disposal contract. The increase is almost 3.5%, which is accorded with the Consumer Price Index. Our current rate per ton is $39.14. This will take us to a little bit over $41 per ton. No additional funding is needed at this time due to the funding that was added to the account back in December as we were adding yard waste disposal to our solid waste collection. So we feel comfortable that even though we have an increase, funds are available to cover the additional costs.
Motion to approve by Juan. As a second by Bakhtiari. I have a question. The move to 4114, what's the net overall life of the contract?
So annually, it's a little bit under $160,000. So for the remainder of this contract, of the fiscal year, I believe we're at about 60K.
And what does the contract say about the ability of the provider to propose rate increases of this type?
So basically, it adds a provision where at a certain term of the contract, which is where we are today, that they are able to suggest a rate increase based on the Consumer Price Index.
So that's negotiated?
That's correct. it's negotiable. But considering that we really don't have any other alternatives as far as a waste provider at this point, the rising cost of fuel, the provider has also expanded the size of the landfill. So all those things considered, we felt that the increase was commensurate with the actual market.
Yeah, I know we're in between a rock and a hard place as regards landfills. I guess my question is your department, there's been kind of such a revolving door in the department you now run, it makes it hard to do sustained, like really long-term future planning, because just people just come and go. Are there any efforts underway to see what models might be available to sort of to get us off this treadmill? Fusion, all these other options.
Yes, sir. That's a great question. So the current contract, we have a little bit under 2 years left on the contract with the option for 2 additional 1-year renewals. So not only are we looking at other options, we're looking at the locations of our transfer stations. We're looking to have transfer stations that are a little bit more strategically placed throughout the city, so we can reduce the amount of windshield time that's required to dispose of our solid waste. So back to your question, yes, we are looking at other options. Being that we have 2 years left on this contract, we have a little bit of time to conduct the proper due diligence.
All right, well, transfer station discussions are always very vivid here. Did you have a question over there? Okay, all right. Anyone else with any questions? We do have a motion and a second, so if there's nothing else, let's open the vote.
Vote is open.
Thank you.
The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
Thank you. That takes us to item 4, which is 22-1196, an ordinance by City Utilities Committee to ratify services rendered in connection with the agreement listed here, West Area Water Quality Control Facility Improvements with Heavy Salt WAWI, a joint venture comprised of Heavy Constructors, Inc. and Saul Construction, LLC, beginning November 11th of last year, to authorize the mayor's designee to execute the second change order to the agreement listed from November, to extend the term of the agreement retroactively effective from November 11th of last year through January 7th of 2023 at no additional cost on behalf of Watershed in accordance with the code sections indicated here. Mr. Baccaro.
Good morning, Chairman Shook. Good morning, council members. Good to see everyone again. This legislation is to request approval for a time extension change order for contract FC 1190042 West Area Water Quality Control Facility Improvements. The project itself involves repairs and upgrades to various combined sewer control facilities in the West Area section of the City of Atlanta. These facilities located in this section of the city include North Avenue, Tanyard Creek, and Clear Creek. The facilities provide primary treatment, including rotating fine screen and disinfection equipment. Repairs and upgrades to the West Area Water Quality Control Facility are also included in this project. The need to remove sludge from the existing sedimentation basins and supply chain has resulted in significant delays to complete the project. The sedimentation basins are sort of large basins that contain a lot of silt and sand, and the department organised a separate contract to remove that material. So this change order is to extend the existing final completion date to January the 7th, 2023. No additional funding will be required. There was a previous change order, number 1, that was addressed as an administrative change order. As the contract is funded by GFA, there are some federal requirements. what the change order addressed at the time was the need, the contract did not include various provisions about purchasing American iron and steel. So that was the federal requirement that was addressed in the previous change order. I'm available to answer any questions you may have.
Questions or comments? Mr. Wan has moved approval. Any questions or comments? There's a second from Mr. Winston, so let's open the vote.
Vote is open. The vote is closed. 6 yeas, 0 nays. This item is favorable.
All right, the ayes have it, so ordered. There are no walk-ins. Any announcements or comments for the good of the order? Ms. Boone, and then Mr. Wan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to again offer condolences to the family of the late Mayor Sam Masel, who did so much in the city of Atlanta, bridging the gap in the 70s as he was mayor of this great city. Mr. Masel also appointed the first black female to run a department here in the city of Atlanta, our great Commissioner Emma I. Darnell. They had a wonderful, special relationship. Many of us knew him through her. And fast forward, we had a chance to meet him as he would come here to visit us in the 90s. So on behalf of the people of Atlanta, we offer condolences to Mayor Sam Masel, his family, and extended family. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that and just say Sunday, waking up to a buckhead that didn't include Sam Masel was just really surreal, given how intertwined he was for decades with that community. Mr. Wan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll echo my condolences as well. In light of his service being tomorrow, I wanted to just make sure colleagues knew that transportation will be starting at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, and Finance Executive will be starting at 11 o'clock to accommodate those council members who'd like to attend his ceremony, or his services, sorry.
Anyone else?
I would like to give my condolences to Mayor Sam Masel and what he meant to Atlanta, what he meant to us working together, the collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? All right, with that, we're adjourned.